Hello friends, in this video we'll be taking a look at the autosomal DNA results, predicted phenotype traits, and even GEDmatch results of an early Jew from the Roman Empire. This individual lived in this region right next to Rome in the 3rd century before the Common Era. This is just around the time when people speculate that the Ashkenazi Jewish group began to emerge. So this individual, in my opinion, is an early Ashkenazi Jew, and you will see the argumentation for this, why I believe it's specifically a Jew and not some other mixture of Italian and Greek or something. We're gonna get into that once we discuss the GEDmatch results. But what's to know about the sample? It's a woman. Her mitochondrial lineage is U3B1. Y-DNA doesn't have Y-DNA. It's a woman. But now let's go ahead and explore her ethnic calculator results in GEDmatch, and you will see why I think it's a Jewish individual. I was actually suggested, somebody suggested that I make this video. It was a person on Discord, and the argumentation is that her genetic profile matches Jews very well and what Jews are supposed to be. It is not just a mixture of Italian plus Levantine or something. No, it's specifically Jewish. So let's take a look at the ethnic calculator results with my trait predictor first. And this is one of those cases where my trait predictor actually gets the story entirely correct. So this is just spot on. I'm really proud that my trait predictor was able to give this sort of spot on prediction. She's closest to Erfurt Jews. And with the Oracle, there's interesting models. There's New Grange Neolithic Farmer plus Erfurt Jew. There's Ashkenazi plus BMAC. So, still the Oracle maybe not so good. Maybe it isn't as accurate as it could be, but it's as accurate as it's gonna be with 472 S&Ps. Let me tell you that much. The fact that with 472 S&Ps it was accurately able to predict that this individual is Jewish is really awesome. Let's go ahead and see what she scores with GEDmatch. So this is what she scores with Eugene's K13. A very typical result for somebody who is Jewish, mostly East Mediterranean. There is a little bit of Red Sea admixture here as well, 8%. Very much in line for Ashkenazi Jews. The Baltic is actually a little bit low. Ashkenazi Jews tend to have a little bit more of a Baltic or Northeast European admixture. In her case, it seems that she lacks this Baltic admixture, but this makes sense because it's an Italian Jew who lived in Italy before spreading to Europe and mixing with whoever lived, in Northern Europe. So the lack of Baltic admixture here and the lack of North Atlantic sort of admixture is very understandable. Let's see the Oracle. And with the Oracle, you can see she's closest to Algerian and Italian and Sephardic and Tunisian and Libyan Jews. The closest groups to her are Algerian, Italian, Sephardic, and Tunisian and Libyan. So basically, Ashkenazi also come up pretty close here, but as I've said previously, Ashkenazi have a little bit of a tiny bit of Northern European admixture that this individual does not really have. So it looks like if you look at the Oracle, it's basically Algerian Jew is the closest to it, and there's models like Algerian Jew plus Sardinian, very interesting models, but it's very clearly a Jewish individual. Let's see the second GEDmatch Oracle. This is going to be a PUN-DNA LK10. This is a little bit easier to understand. So you see ENF here is not really Anatolian farmers. It's something different. It is it is sort of like a group that represents extreme Mediterranean or Middle Eastern specific drift. Because Anatolian Neolithic farmers actually don't score 100% ENF. They score split between ENF and WHG. And WHG in this case also does not represent WHG. It represents all European hunter-gatherers. So really scoring like this, it is kind of even more southern than Anatolian Neolithic farmers who would score roughly the same. Well, maybe 2/3 ENF, 1/3 WHG, and the ratio here of ENF to WHG is much higher. So what this means is this individual has some Natufian admixture, which is obviously something that in Italy in this time period you would have if you were Jewish. And 25% Caucasus hunter-gatherer admixture, kind of typical, not really high, not really low. Let's see the Oracle. And with the Oracle, you can see she is closest to Sephardic Jews, followed by Sicilians, followed by Ashkenazi Jews. and we once again see with the two-way oracle a picture that looks very decisively Sephardic Jewish. I mean, you see it's 97% Sephardic Jew plus 2% Papuan, 97% Sephardic Jew plus 2% Australian. It is very clearly a Jewish individual with this calculator as well, and with most of these calculators. Now let's see ancient Eurasia K6. Here, once again, we see a very typical score for somebody who is Jewish, or I guess it would also be pretty similar for Greeks and Sicilians, but let's see the oracle. And this is actually the only calculator where the closest population is Ashkenazi Jews instead of Sephardic or Moroccan or whatever else. Here, the closest group is Ashkenazi Jews, followed by Moroccan Jews and Libyan Jews. So I think it's pretty clear that this is a Jewish person. And I think the reason that with most of these calculators, she is showing up closer to, um, she is showing up closer to southern populations, Mediterranean Jews rather than Ashkenazi Jews, is because this is before Ashkenazi Jews descending from people like her went into the north of Europe and started mixing. Well, not I'm not saying they uh are incredibly mixed and that they're so diverse. No, they're still for the most part very very much Mediterranean people, but they mixed a little bit with the Northern Europeans, and that really set them apart from the Sephardic and Algerian and all the rest of Jews. So this is the reason why I think if you see these oracles, Ashkenazi do not show up closest. Ashkenazi do not show up first, even though I think this woman is an ancestor to Ashkenazi Jews. So I hope I have argumented my position quite clearly to you. Now let's go ahead and explore what she looks like and what kind of traits she has. We're going to start with noshacot. So for the phenotype, it looks like her closest phenotype is this and this. And the third closest is this, which is kind of bizarre. I'm not sure why it came out this way. I don't know. I'll look into it. But the closest phenotypes, the closest two seem to be, I guess, believable. And we're gonna see for the eye color likelihood distribution. It looks like she's got brown eyes, probably dark, probably brown or darkest brown eyes. Most likely very dark eye color. For hair color, it looks like she's most likely got dark brown hair, or 13% likelihood of black hair. But there is really most likely she's got dark brown hair. She's pretty dark individual. For skin color, it looks like she's got olive or Mediterranean skin, and there is a little bit of a likelihood for light brown or white skin, but really, most likely it's olive or Mediterranean skin. For hair texture, it looks like she's got wavy hair, although straight hair and curly hair is also sort of possible. Kinky hair is out of the picture. She does not have kinky hair. I guess it's kind of a typical look for somebody from the Mediterranean or Jew or any kind of no any kind of person from the Mediterranean. I just don't know why this phenotype right here showed up on the third place. I don't really understand this. Uh, that's kind of funky. Okay. And it looks like she does not have BH3, does not have BH2, she does not have BH1. Wow, she does not even have BH1. Look at that. No BH1 at all. Very interesting. So definitely very dark colored if you take into account only HERC2 and OCA2 genotypes. She does have two light color variants in this variation of SLC24A5, so she does have the Eurasian light skin variants here. And she also has Eurasian light skin, light hair, and light eye variants in SLC45A2, which is also really good to see. So when it comes to these genes, she's got some genotypes that contribute to light pigmentation. It looks like, is there anything else that's interesting here? Keto G, she's got two light color variants in both of the variations in Keto G that she was genotyped for, which is really good to see. So she's got um, uh, actually, what's interesting about these variations is not only do they lead to a lighter pigmentation of mostly skin, but also hair and eyes, but they also lead to an increase in the risk of testicular cancer. I believe I've talked about that in the previous videos I made. So she not only does she have an increased likelihood of having light color of eyes, hair, and skin because of these genotypes, she actually also has an increased likelihood of testicular cancer. And no light color variants in MC1R, so it looks like she does not have any predisposition to being ginger. All right, very interesting. Now let's go ahead and explore her polygenic risk scores and monogenic traits. We're going to start with the polygenic risk scores. It looks like she's got an below average risk score for schizophrenia. She's got a above average risk score for type 2 diabetes. Actually, no, not above. I'm tripping. below average risk score for type 2 diabetes, a below average risk score for Alzheimer's, a slightly above average score for multiple sclerosis. It looks like she's got 0 risk variance for breast cancer out of 12, which is pretty good to see. 12 out of 22 for testicular cancer, which is kind of bad to see. We don't want to see that. Well, I don't know. It's kind of it's on the border of average, I think. 1 risk variant for celiac disease out of 8, which is really good to see. 0 for GSS out of 14, really good to see. 3 for Crohn's out of 20, which is pretty average to see, but we're going to explore on the Crohn's section if any of these 3 risk variants are in the important variations. And 0 for Reifenstein's out of 18, which is really good to see. 5 for Parkinson's out of 32, which is kind of, I don't know, icky. I don't know. But we can't really fact check that. So is there anything that's a little bit concerning? I don't really see anything concerning besides maybe testicular cancer. And um, yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and explore her results. It looks like she's got GG in Comte-Val met variation, meaning WODU genotype, and she's got WODU genotype in MAOA, so these two kind of cancel out. WODU genotype in Comte means she would have more of the Comte enzyme, but WODU genotype in MAOA means she would have less of the Comte, less of the MAOA enzyme, and both Comte and MAOA enzymes do the same thing. They both responsible for breakdown of dopamine. So having a little bit higher activity of Comte but lower activity of the MAOA, they would kind of cancel out, and you would end up with an intermediate phenotype, something between warrior and warrior, just like most people. Well, I'd say most people who are not, most people who are European would have an intermediate phenotype. But most people who are not European are definitely more warrior. It looks like she's got two derived no-go learner variants in the reduced in pro variation, so which it's a stereotypically European genotype, by the way. It causes a significant reduction in the number of dopamine D2 receptor sites in the brain, a reduction in the risk of schizophrenia, and an increased likelihood of no-go learning, which is the ability to withhold a response when it's not warranted. Essentially, this decreases the number of dopamine D2 receptor sites in the brain. It's a very stereotypically European genotype to have. Like outside of Europe, it's not. It's very uncommon outside of Europe. She does not have the A1 allele in TAC1. All right. She's got this genotype in DRG2, which actually leads to slightly lower rates of schizophrenia. Very interesting. So this and this and this, they all lead to lower rates of schizophrenia. And she's not genotyped for the 45-HTTLPR thing, so we're gonna skip that. Autism, we're gonna skip that. DDC, we're gonna skip that. Lactose persistence, she does not have any derived variants for European lactose persistence, so she is not a she's not lactose persistent. She is lactose intolerant. I should really change the phrasing of this. Actually, it does not have any derived. This this is really difficult to understand for somebody who doesn't know anything about genetics. For someone who just bought my tool um and just started exploring, like how would they understand this? I don't know. I should probably change that, make it a little bit easier. Okay, so for OXTR, the empathy gene, it looks like she's got two sociopath variants for reduced OXTR expression and lack of empathy. Very interesting. So she's maybe a little bit of a sociopath. Actually, she's got the same genotype. She's got sociopathic genotype for all of the variations found in the file, which is kind of interesting. For diabetes, it looks like she. Okay, nothing relevant, nothing interesting was found here. For hemochromatosis, it looks like she does not have any risk variants for hemochromatosis. Really good to see. For Alzheimer's, it looks like she does not have any risk variants in APOE, which is very good. Everything else, I don't really care for too much. Multiple sclerosis, nothing relevant was found. Okay. Cardiovascular disease panel. Is there anything interesting? Okay, so she's got this genotype, which leads to a 1.5 times increased risk of coronary artery disease. Unfortunate. And for myopia, it looks like she's got the G allele here. Okay, so there is something to talk about in this case. She's got the G allele in this variation, which leads to a significant reduction in the risk of myopia and better eyesight. It's also very European. It's a very European allele to have. There's a lot of actually in this person's result, there is a lot of extremely European genotypes that are stereotypically European, which is kind of interesting to see because, well, I guess she was from Europe, and I guess she is European in terms of ethnicity. But this G allele here, it is by far the most important variation for myopia likelihood score. The score, the polygenic risk score for myopia. If I had to make one, this would be by far the biggest contributor, and the G allele here um, is a big contribution to the decrease in the risk of myopia. So she probably has slightly better eyesight. Very interesting. No micropenis. and no micropenis here either. There's two variations for micropenis, and she doesn't have any risk alleles in any of them. Good to see. 8 points higher IQ than individuals with AA genotype, slightly higher IQ. I typically don't really talk about the IQ stuff here because I don't find it very reliable, but Jews are known to be a little bit gifted compared to Gentiles. So there you go. There is evidence of that. One fat gene variant in FTOs, RS9949609, higher odds of obesity and sleep apnea. Very interesting. She likely does not have photic sneeze reflex, and in EDAR, it looks like she's got European, very European genotype in EDAR. Definitely doesn't have East Asian EDAR. This is what is really bothering me. Why is she? She's got a European genotype in EDAR, and for some reason, uh, this is the third closest phenotype to her. Like, I don't understand this, to be honest. I do. I do not understand this. Okay, let's scroll back. Drug response: lower odds of cannabis-induced psychosis. Very cool. So she can smoke pot without getting psychotic symptoms. For albinism in a typical traits panel, it looks like she is not a carrier for any of the albinism mutations, and she's also not a carrier for Melanesian blonde hair variants. So she, this variation right here, it's specific to Melanesians. The derived variant here is only found in Melanesians, and it leads to an increased likelihood of blonde hair. So you will not find derived alleles here in people outside of Melanesia. For familiar Mediterranean fever, it looks like she does not have any risk variants for that. Really good to see. For MTHFR panel, it looks like she's got normal homocysteine, slightly lower than average odds for a variety of illnesses from autism to coronary heart disease. Really good to see. For cancers panel, it looks like she's got genotypes that increase the risk of testicular cancer, so that's unfortunate. We remember she had a pretty high score for testicular cancer, and it seems that all of the important variations for testicular cancer she does have the risk variants in, so that's unfortunate. Okay. For leukemia, it looks like she does not have any risk variants for that. Really good to see. For rare diseases and traits panel, it looks like she's not a carrier for variants of Bloom syndrome. Really good. She's got this genotype, which leads to a decrease in the risk of several autoimmune diseases, including Addison's disease and type 1 diabetes. Really good. No GSS. All right. For allergy, we're gonna skip that. For androgen receptor gene, no Riefenstein syndrome, but we already know she doesn't have Riefenstein syndrome because we looked at the polygenic risk scores page. Crohn's disease. Okay, so for Crohn's, none of the relevant stuff was found in the file. None of the most relevant 3 variations were found in the file. All right, so we don't really know if she's got a high score or a low score for Crohn's, despite um, her score being pretty good on the polygenic risk scores page. For Canavan syndrome, it looks like she's got 0 risk variants, really good. For HIV, she doesn't have any risk variants in this variation. There is a lot more for the HIV. There is if you have a high quality file, you're gonna see maybe 4 or 5. I think it's 5. I think you're gonna see 5 variations for the HIV and AIDS panel showing up on the screen. In this case, there's only one, and it's not even that bad of a file. It's a pretty good file, to be honest. For muscular dystrophy myopathy, 0 risk variance for ADL out of 32. Really good to see. And none of these, by the way, these do not go for ADL. These are for different muscular myopathies. ADL is only this. Okay, so for color blindness panel, it looks like she does not have any risk variance for color blindness. Really good. For FTO gene panel, it looks like she's got genotypes for fat gene variants. It's very interesting. So she's definitely got an increased odds of being obese and overweight. If you look at all of them, she's got higher odds of obesity for all of them. Very, very interesting. And now for bio traits panel, we're gonna have to zoom in a little bit so that you can see it better. Wait, let's zoom in even more. Hold on. Let's scroll to the bio traits panel. Maybe I zoomed in too much. Okay, so she's got GG in this variation leads to shorter sleep duration and likely European or East Asian. So she's got shorter sleep duration. Very interesting. She's got this genotype which leads to a high risk of male pattern baldness, and this genotype which leads to a lower risk of male pattern baldness. But I put them, when I put them on my panels, I put them in descending order of importance. The most important variations go on top. That's how it is. She's got this genotype which leads to higher odds of motion sickness. Okay, and this is the variation with the highest impact for motion sickness. She's got this genotype which leads to lower predisposition to anger, and she's got this genotype which leads to significantly shorter telomere length, and shorter lifespan. All right, very interesting. Well, thanks for watching my video until the end. Oh, my throat is sore from talking for 30 minutes. Thanks for watching my video until the end. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and you can download this file in 23andMe format from link which is in description of the video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.